shortstop's arm with that thumb. That'll be the key, how strong it is releasing that ball with the thumb.
And as for Jose Reyes, he is leaving for Florida right about as we speak. He's going to play a couple of rehab games. He's eligible to come off the disabled list Friday, and the Mets are optimistic that that's not an unreasonable timetable, that he'll be ready. So the Mets should be back to a full complement of infielders by the weekend in Washington.
Oh, Johnny Main, the keys of the game for Johnny are brought to you by Acura. Acura Advance. Greatest game he ever had in 07. 14 strikeouts, no hitter into that 8th inning. City put it in the bank. John Main here at Citi Field so far has won his last 3 starts. Slider right means he's going to have that good slider against guys like Ugla. Change up left. He's going to need that change up against the hot hitting Hermida and help the offense. We've talked about it before, Gary. John's made himself into a pretty good hitter. 222 so far this season with a couple RBIs.
Chris Coughlin will lead things off for Florida, the rookie who is playing left field these days for Florida, making his 18th start, moved into the leadoff spot yesterday, drew 3 walks hitting leadoff in yesterday's game, including one leading off the game against Tim Redding, and he takes a strike from Maine. In fact, Coughlin had a 10-pitch walk to begin that game, which kind of set the tone for Redding's entire outing. And Maine throws the fastball high, and it's 1-1. That's wearing the pinstripes, but with the black and blue caps, a sort of traditional look. And the fastball for a strike, 1-2. Emilio Bonifacio on deck, and then Hanley Ramirez in the opening inning. Marlins began this road trip by taking 2 of 3 in Philadelphia, trying to do the same against the Mets. Now it's 2-2 to Coughlin. Maine has made 2 prior starts against Florida this year, pitched a total of 11 innings, and given up 3 hits. First start on April the 10th, 5 innings, 2 hits allowed, a couple of solo home runs. And then 17 days later, 6 innings, 1 hit, and an unearned run in a 7-1 win. Coughlin fists another one foul, and he's having a similar kind of at bat to the one he had leading off yesterday.
Well, we've been impressed the 2 games that we've seen Coughlin play. He's had a lot of energy. You see he has that short stroke leading off, fouls off a lot of pitches, tough out. We haven't seen him play enough defense yet, of course, converted infielder.
And he goes down swinging as Maine leaves the fastball away, and Coughlin strikes out to start the day.
All fastballs for John to Coughlin, and the thing they like about it, he's got that nice movement away from the left-handed hitters. Very interesting that John started out this game almost like 3/4, throwing the ball 87, 88 miles an hour.
It's one of the oddities of Maine's season so far is that he has been dominant against left-hand hitters. The lefties are hitting 161 against him, and yet right-hand hitters are hitting over 300.
Well, I think if we put him in order, his fastball is number 1, his changeup is his number 2 pitch, his slider number 3. So changeup is what he uses to get the left-handers out.
Yeah, Emilio Bonifacio takes a fastball for a strike. Bonifacio 3 for 10 in this series, doubled his first 2 times up yesterday, pulling the ball each time. Corners in against the speedster, and he swings and misses 0-2. One of the things that the Marlins have been after Bonifacio to do is to bunt more. He has such an amazing speed, but now it's 0-2 to him, and he pops one up into shallow center, and Pagan is in, 2 down. So Maine has retired the first 2, and now Hanley Ramirez will weigh in. Ramirez, who missed the opening game of the series because of a groin injury, played yesterday and had a couple of hits, batting at .320 on the year.
You know, talking about Bonifacio really quickly, one of the best bunters of all time for base hits was Rod Carew. He would do it with 2 strikes occasionally too, and that's where they would like to see him do it. Most people don't do it with 2 strikes because of the strikeout factor, but boy, that's usually when the third baseman backs up.
It's all about the confidence to be able to get that bunt down in those 2-strike situations, but there certainly is a surprise element to that. Despite Maine's overall success against the Marlins, Ramirez has touched him for a couple of home runs in his career. And Hanley hits one hard down to third and right with the stab. And off the bag Murphy to make the tag on Ramirez to end the inning. Wide throw by Wright, but Murphy with a nice play. And Maine gets him 1-2-3. By Toyota, a smart way to keep moving forward. David Wright after a day off yesterday. Gary Sheffield after a day off yesterday. Luis Castillo after a day off yesterday. Omir Santos after a day off yesterday. It's a little different look to the Mets lineup this afternoon.
A little more formidable today. As you look at, it'll have to be against Chris Volstad, who has been outstanding this year. Look at that low ERA, 3.69, averaging over 6 innings, per start. The only number you don't like is the 11 home runs. He's thrown more strikes, only 19 walks, but giving up more home runs.
And 10 of those home runs have come in his last 7 starts. So he's been very vulnerable to the long ball of late. Angel Pagan making his 10th start for the Mets, and he takes ball 1. Pagan over the last 4 games, 7 for 17. He's really done a terrific job filling in center and filling in the leadoff spot with Beltran hobbled and Reyes on the disabled list. He's been taking a lot of pitches. He's been drawing his walks.
Playing some real intelligent baseball, he has.
Switch hitter batting left, and he takes high from Volstad, 3-0. Volstad has not been walking people. In fact, he's only walked 8 in his last 7 starts. Luis Castillo on deck, and then David Wright. 3-1 to Pagan.
You say to yourself, how does Volstad have such a low ERA with those 11 home runs given up? And only 2 have come with runners on base. The rest solo shots.
He is a sinker ball pitcher. Pagan hits one to center field. And back a few strides goes Cody Ross to line it up. 1 away.
Look at the Marlins defense. It's going to be brought to you by the ChevyOffers.com. Hogman in left field, the 17th start, Ross and Armida. Bonifacio and Ramirez on the left side. Hugla and Cantu on the right. John Baker back in the lineup after a day off yesterday. 13 errors in the last 8 games, though, for these Marlins, who have, I believe, 42 now on the season. 2 yesterday by the pitcher, Danny Meyer.
And another error that does not go in the books as an error and cost them a run when Hamilton Ramirez made a bad throw on a double play. Here's Luis Castillo after a day off yesterday. He had been playing virtually every day with Reyes hobbled and Cora on the disabled list. The Mets had no choice but to run him out there. And Louis right back in the lineup today. He's had a good homestand. At one point, reached base 9 consecutive times over a 3-game span. Ramon Martinez, who had been playing for the last 2 weeks, getting today off. And it's taken low 2-1. And the Mets taking some pitches early against Volstad. David Wright in the 3-hole today after his first day off of the season yesterday. And now it's 3-1 to Castillo, so Volstad's fallen behind 3-1 to the first 2 hitters. And the fastball appears to be the issue right now as he's trying to gain his command.
Well, he's one of those pitchers that throws right over the top, so he's finding a hard release spot right now.
And it's ball 4. Castillo's on with a walk. Now, It's obviously the first time that Volstad has pitched from this mound. Is that part of the issue for a pitcher early in the game?
I think it's definitely part of the issue. I mean, they try in baseball to keep them pretty uniform, but it's not only the mound. You see Volstad right over the top. Johnny Mays more 3/4. See how low John's backside is compared to Volstad. Just like Johnson, they pitch very, very tall. They use that height to their advantage.
So now David Wright, and David, after a magnificent road trip, has struggled on this homestand. He's 4 for his last 25, and in those 25 at bats, he has struck out 11 times, including a 4 strikeout game on Wednesday. And David grounds a double play ball to short. Ramirez to Ugla, and on to first for the 6-4-3 double play that gets Volstad through the opening inning. We go to the second. Mets and Marlins, no score. PV not traded and winning for San Diego. Justin Verlander won his 6th in a row last night, 5-0 in May. And Luke Scott, another homer last night in a Baltimore loss, but 6 home runs in his last 4 games.
Did you see Jeremy Guthrie, the starter for Baltimore last night? Struck out 10 in 6 innings, 113 pitches.
Jorge Cantu leads off and takes a strike. Cantu 3 for 10 in this series, hitting .379 against Met pitching this year, with 11 RBIs in 8 games. It'll be Cantu, then Jeremy Hermida and Dan Ugla for the Marlins in the second. What if it's her first game? She's ready to go. Line right to David Wright. And Cantu retired, 1 away.
Good pitch by John. It's really off the end of the bat. David had plenty of time to react to that ball. You know, I talked to many of the Met pitchers about pitching to Omar Santos, and to a man, they said they love the way he calls the game. They say he has really quick fingers when he gives the sign, so they're not waiting out there a long time, so it can really help their tempo.
Now, would there be some guys who'd be too quick for him?
Maybe JJ, because JJ tries to work. You know, he's more deliberate than the other guys.
Jeremy Hermida had a big day yesterday. Single, double, 3-run homer. His 5th home run off Tim Redding ended his day. And Hermida fouls it off 0-2.
Remember Jerry was talking about when Castro caught Johan Santana. We're asking why not Santos. He said, well, you know, he fouled the ball off the shin. He goes, but either catcher, what we really care about is they keep Santana's tempo up because he likes to work quickly.
Really, if you go back through Major League history, at least the games that we've seen over the last 40 years, the better pitchers tend to work faster.
They really do. They keep everyone in the game. And I think one of the reasons that they work quicker, Gary, is that they're so evolved as far as their PhD of pitching. Things come to them quickly on what to throw, when to throw it.
So you're saying the guys who work at a slower tempo, it's more of a mental struggle for them?
I think so. I think that they are in between what they want to do. I think the guys that are struggling are guys that have not thought 2 or 3 pitches ahead of time. The great pitchers will say to themselves, okay, I'm going to throw, first pitch of the game is going to be a fastball in. If I miss with it in, I'm going to go fastball away. If I make it in, I'm going to pop them in twice. They have all of that ready to go.
Armida takes one on the inside corner. Good fastball by Maine. Gets him looking for his second strikeout.
This is always the key for John, is that he's doing a lot of weight, but occasionally he has to fire a strike inside. That will keep those left-handers honest, and that is a perfect pitch right there.
So 5 up and 5 down for Maine. He's throwing the first pitch strike to every batter. And now he'll take on Dan Uggla, who's 0 for 7 in this series, but has driven in a couple of runs with sacrifice flies. Average down to 207 on the year, and he hits the first one in the air to left center field. Pagan back onto the warning track, right at the wall, and it's off the top of the wall in play. Uggla to second, and standing with a 2-out double. That is the 3rd time in the last 2 days that this ballpark has taken a home run away from a Marlin. Uggla just missing.
Well, this is nice play, tandem by both outfielders. Pagan takes a shot at it, realizes he can't get it. You know why he can take that shot? Because Mr. Sheffield's backing up, able to play it off the wall and get the ball in. Very nice tandem outfield play by both Pagan and Sheffield. Spider-Man there by Angel.
He was trying to beat Torrey Hunter, but I don't think even Torrey would have gotten that ball. So a 2-out double for Uggla, 14 feet up on that 16-foot wall. First hit of the game for the Marlins, and now John Baker, the catcher, hitting 7th, and he takes ball 1. There are going to be a lot of frustrated hitters come through this place.
It'll be interesting to ask the Marlin hitters, because they play in a big ballpark themselves, and if Uggla would think that is definitely out of whatever they're naming their stadium these days.
I think they're calling it Land Shark right now. Temporarily. There's a strike to Baker, 1-1. No, they've got that big teal scoreboard, but I don't think it's as deep. I think the ball would have fallen over the scoreboard, don't you think?
You're right. It was their scoreboard is not that high.
No, I'm saying it's high, but it's not as far back.
Yeah.
It's not 384 at that point, I don't think. Grounded to the right side. Castillo fields it. Murphy has to hurry back to the bag and gets there in time to end the inning. Uggla's 2-out double does not yield a run. Sheffield will lead off for the Mets as we go to the bottom of the second. Gary's been carrying the offense of late, back in the lineup. The view from the bridge at Citi Field. Another big crowd gathering for the final day of the homestand on a gorgeous Sunday afternoon. Gary Sheffield leads off the home second. Sheffield has a 7-game hitting streak going. Not only does he have a hit in 7 straight games and driven in a run in 6 of the 7, but he's also drawn a walk in all 7 of those games. His on-base percentage up to .440 for the year. And he takes a strike from Chris Volstad.
I know it used to be a show, but Sheffield really has a fear factor when he steps into the box to these National League pitchers.
Top chef. 0-2. I'm surprised that we haven't had a chef's section pop up at Citi Field.
That's
yet.
right.
Fastball, that just missed. 1-2. And Volstad gets Sheffield swinging. Good sinker for the first strikeout of the game for Volstad.
Remember that home run that he hit off Bergman that was down and in? That ball stayed pretty true for Bergman. That one, great sink from Volstad.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Daniel Murphy. 0 for 4 in this series after his 5 RBI game against the Nationals on Wednesday. And Murphy takes below the knees, ball 1. Mets will face right-handers 3 of the 4 games in Pittsburgh in the upcoming series. So Murphy will get the bulk of the playing time at first base.
No, Volstad is very unusual that you got a guy 6 foot 8 inches tall that spends his entire game knees and below. Very difficult to get that ball. You got to have the right trajectory to get that so low when you're that tall.
And what's the key to accomplishing that?
Well, the key for him is that he was just smacking his leg. He really needs to use his legs to propel that ball to keep it down.
Easy play for Cantu for the second out. So Murphy retired, 2 out and nobody on. If you're looking for some good news, check out the Picks News at 10 every weeknight. Jim Watkins and Kaidi Tong get you caught up on the economy, world events, and local stories that affect your life. Plus, Mr. G's got your reliable 5-day forecast. Don't miss the News at 10 weeknights here on Picks. So 2 out now. Fernando Martinez, the 20-year-old rookie who picked up his first 2 big league hits yesterday, a single and an RBI double, and he takes a strike. Martinez starting his 4th game, 2 for 13. Volstad working quickly. Martinez with the cut. 1-2. Shoots 1 foul.
It did look a little funny, didn't it? Major League Baseball experience, 5 days. Usually it's 3 years or whatever.
He's gotten a lot of experience in 5 days, hasn't he?
He really has.
There's Santos on deck. Tapper foul. I mean, not many kids 20 years old have the experience on their 2nd day in the major leagues of getting booed. I mean, think about that.
And booed, but cheered so loudly when he came up for his first at bat because the fans have been waiting for him for 2 or 3 years now.
1-2, and it's taken low. 2-2.
But like Jerry said, he was so apologetic. Went in his office 2 or 3 times. Jerry's like, "You don't have to come in here. Just get a couple hits. That's what I need."
Shows his quick bat there, and it's 2-2.
And I think people at home, you're saying to yourself, how can that happen? I mean, you know, how can you come to the major leagues and hit a pop-up and not run it out? Well, I'm telling you, when you come up and you're a young kid, sometimes you do some really silly things.
Ugla to his right, plays out on the backhand, takes his time, and just barely gets Martinez to retire the side. 2 hitless innings for Volstad. We head for the 3rd with no score. game the last few years, and it's very nice. But did you see what it said on top of Keith's name?
I did.
It said off day.
This guy's got our schedule. I thought Kurt only sent them to us. He sent them to everyone.
Fernando Martinez, the 5th youngest Met to make his debut since 1971. Of course, the youngest ever to debut for the Mets was Ed Kranepool, who was just 17 when he first played for the Mets in '62. But the youngest in that group, Mr. Gooden, he fared okay at age 19.
Well, I was just looking at that list, and the two who were dominant from day one were Gooden and Jeffries. Jeffries was pretty good as soon as he came up.
Cody Ross sitting 8th in the order today. It's a pretty good number 8 hitter. 1 for 7 in this series, and he lifts one to center field. And Pagan waiting for it to come down. So 1 out in the top of the 3rd.
John Maine, if he has a long career here with the Mets, he might lead all pitchers in F8s in this ballpark.
Volstad just 1 for 20 as a hitter this year. About those 6'8" pitchers, they have big strike zones.
Yeah, they really do. First guy I ever pitched against that I went, wow, that is a huge strike zone, was Steve Balboni. Remember him?
Sure. Bye-bye Balboni. Well, we talked about this yesterday. The Marlins have 4 pitchers who are 6'7" or taller. Josh Johnson, who pitched yesterday, Sean West, who worked the first game of the series, Volstad, and Andrew Miller, who's 6'7". No other major league team has more than 1 pitcher that tall.
Range Johnson with the Giants, who's 6'10".
Daniel Cabrera, no longer with the Nats, but he's 6'9". As Volstad goes down swinging for the 2nd out. 3rd strikeout for Maine. Interestingly enough, there are 19 players in the major leagues who are 6'7" or taller. Only 1 position player.
Oh, interesting.
And that's
Tony Clark. He's got to be the switch hitter.
Exactly.
Yeah. I just thought went to basketball. He's the best one.
Mary Max.
He's always looking a little sly, though, even on the T-shirts.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Chris Coughlin, and he takes up and away for ball 1. For all of you conspiracy theorists, by the way, Keith will be back tomorrow.
He will. He's got the Levon tomorrow. Got Santana on Tuesday.
1-1 to Coughlin. Keith will be happy because he knows a great restaurant in Pittsburgh.
He does? Before the game or after the game?
I don't know. 1-2 to Coughlin. Depends on the day, I guess. Coughlin struck out his first time up. Maine disposing of the Marlins rapidly. He's only thrown 33 pitches with 2 out in the 3rd. A guy for whom early high pitch counts have been a problem through his career. Here's your Verizon High Speed, brought to you by Verizon. This is Files. This is big. Volstad and Maine both throwing in those low 90s. You don't need to throw 98. You have the life on your ball. Maine's got the life up, and Volstad has the life down. 1-2 to Coughlin. Late swing foul.
Well, Keith knows that place in Pittsburgh, but he's going to have to go away to beat that place we all went to in Boston. That was pretty special.
Yes, it was.
We got to watch the fans get excited with LeBron James with that miracle shot, but now he's got a golf date today, right?
I guess he doesn't have a press conference. Murphy flips it to Maine. 3-1 putout. John Maine brilliantly through the first 3 innings. Now Omir Santos will lead off for the Mets in the bottom of the 3rd. But last we saw Santos 2 nights ago, Baseball is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. They don't sell standing room tickets here, but a lot of people stand anyway. Omir Santos takes a strike as we start the bottom of the third.
Do you think that will change as time goes on? Because there's a lot of people still coming here for the first time. It's only the end of May.
I think that as you get later in the season, particularly if the Mets are involved in a pennant race and people are hanging on every pitch, I think there'll be less pedestrian traffic. That's just a guess. As Santos hits one to shallow right, and on comes Hermida to make the slide and the catch. Nicely done by Jeremy Hermida for the first out.
Hermida started the season in left field, moved to right. He looks much more comfortable there. Fine play by the right fielder.
So 1 out and nobody on the good play by Hermida. Now Wilson Valdez making his second straight start at shortstop. And his first hit as a Met, his last time up in the 9th inning yesterday. 31-year-old journeyman infielder who's now been with 4 different major league clubs. And he takes a fastball for ball 1.
Very interesting to watch Wilson Valdez as he gets ready to hit. His front foot, his left foot is completely open, so he can have 2 eyes on the baseball, but as soon as it comes, watch that front foot. Closes up. Always have to close that front side, or you'll have nothing really left to hit the ball sharply.
Now Volstad behind the number 8 hitter, 3-0. Volstad looking a little annoyed with himself, as he has a few times early in this game.
He's been really patting his leg, and that always for a pitcher reveals that he doesn't feel like he's using his legs enough right now.
This Volstad still a very inexperienced pitcher. He's just 22 years old. He grew up in South Florida in Palm Beach Gardens. First round pick by the Marlins in 05, the 16th overall pick.
Interesting, he puts that baseball in the glove in a 4-seam grip when he wants to throw a straight fastball.
And he walks Valdez. So the second walk issued by Volstad. As we noted earlier, he had walked only 8 batters total in his last 7 starts. So that'll provide John Maine with a chance to bunt the runner over. John's done a nice job with the bat this year. 4 hits already and 1 sacrifice.
We see the defense, of course. Bonifacio in. Have Cantu's got to hold the runner. Valdez, who has some speed at first base. Everyone else straight up. Infield, outfielders real shallow.
And Maine pops the bunt attempt foul, 0-1.
He doesn't even have to be fine in this bunt. Cantu really not charging from first base, so anything towards that way will be a good sacrifice bunt for Maine and the Mets. Saw earlier this homestand, Ronnie Belliard from the Nats not even cover first base from his second base position.
Deadens that ball, and Volstad makes the toss to Ugla. What is it about pitchers throwing to first base?
Well, I think in this day and age, Gary, it used to be that the pitcher was always one of the better athletes on your team, so he always played a position. But in this day and age of specialization, some of these guys have been pitching and only pitching their entire life. So they don't know when you get this ball, the best way to get it to first base, you take that little crow hop and let it go. Got a shot at second base maybe, but Valdez, nice job of getting to second, getting that good lead, secondary lead.
So the Mets have a runner in scoring position for the first time with 2 out. And Angel Pagan the batter. Pagan fly to center his first time up. No score, we're in the third. And Pagan takes ball 1. Angel lines one the other way. Fair ball, base hit, going to the corner, and the Mets will take the lead. Valdez in to score on a 2-out opposite field double for Angel Pagan, and it's 1-0 New York.
Well, don't forget, yesterday we saw Angel Pagan against Josh Johnson hit one down the line, ground ball for a double. This time staying right on that fastball away, not trying to do too much. Where it's pitched, he's driving that ball. Nice swing by Angel. First run for the Mets. Boy, that's how you hit that outside pitch. Let it come deeper, as deep as you can, and then flick that wrist to left field.
So the Mets' first hit produces their first run. 1-0 New York. Now Luis Castillo, who walked his first time, and he takes a strike. Well, if you remember with Pagan last year, he was the starting left fielder at the beginning of the year because Moises Alou was hurt. Got to play a ton over the first month to 5 weeks of the season before he got hurt in L.A. And I think we've seen even more from Pagan during this stretch over the last 2 weeks than we did during that early season last year.
You know, Angel is not a small man. He's very fast, he's very strong, very powerful. That being said, his game really is of speed, and it's hitting the ball. Line drives are on the ground, and you'll always know when he's getting in a slump when he starts hitting fly balls, and so far he's not done that.
That is spring curtailed because of elbow surgery. As Castillo hits one down to third, Bonifacio gets Castillo to end the inning. But the Mets play to run. The first run of the ball game brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Pagan's double brings home. Great place and a great time. Metropolitan Hospitality at Citi Field, New York's world-class event destination featuring superb cuisine and 5-star service. Get to metropolitanhospitality.com today to book your special event. Emilio Bonifacio leads off the 4th inning against John Maine, who now has a 1-0 lead, and a changeup in for a strike. Bonifacio fly to center his first time.
John Maine very Santana-like today. 37 pitches now, 29 of them strikes.
And so far only 1 2-ball count. That's not John Maine's modus operandi generally. I mean, John came into this start having averaged 5.2 walks per 9 innings. Now, it's been down a little over the last 3 or 4 starts, but nonetheless, you don't think of John as a guy who's going to throw strike after strike.
I think there's been some real inspiration for these young pitchers, for John Maine, for Mike Pelfrey. They've got one of the best pitchers in baseball, gives them a blueprint on how to act and behave on the mound every 5th day in Santana. They've got an older pitcher, Hernandez, that says, hey, listen, I might not have body by Jake, but you know what? I can go out and throw a complete game.
Slowly hit grounder. Castillo stays back on it. Throws out the speedy Bonifacio one away.
But it really, take it from someone that was lucky enough to play with a lot of great starting pitchers, it elevates your game because you say to yourself, you know what? I want to be on that boat. I want to be part of that experience.
Here's Hanley Ramirez, who grounded out his first time up. He takes a slider for a strike. So John throwing first pitch changeup, first pitch slider.
And you know what's great about it? He's not trying to throw that perfect slider. Just spin it up there a little bit, get yourself a strike. Now, when you need to throw the one to put him away, then you want it off the plate away, like that.
John first came to the Mets. He was a guy who had a curveball. That was his primary breaking pitch. As Ramirez drives one to deep left center, Pagan hurt himself going after that ball, and Ramirez pulls into second base. Pagan came up lame as he ran for that ball and walking gingerly back toward his position. I don't know if he's okay or not.
I don't know if he got a cramp or whatever, but it looked like it was maybe what Ramirez has, maybe a groin, as Jerry Manuel and Ray Ramirez are going to check Mr. Pagan out. Trying to get on his horse to catch this line drive, and you can see right there, boy, that's not good. And his head down now. Angel knows that.
And here's a guy who knows that he's getting his opportunity right now. And he's been hurt so much over the last year, from the shoulder that he wrecked in L.A. that cost him the season last year, to the elbow problem in spring training this year, and now whatever has befallen him out there.
You know, he's pointing at his quad, but when you come up like that, you cannot play center field, and he's so angry. You can just tell he's got to take it to the house.
That is truly unfortunate for Pagan and for the Mets.
And with Beltran not feeling well today, Jeremy Reed, I think, will get the call.
Jeremy's all ready to go, and he's going to have to come in the game.
That's just so unfortunate.
So Pagan, who's driven in the game's only run and has really been playing well since joining the Mets in L.A. And you can see more than frustration etched into his face.
Well, he knew that he would have to try to close this gap, and takes it up a notch, and that's where he pulled it. Either a groin or a quad.
And so Pagan coming off the field, and Jeremy Reed will replace him in center field.
Playing so well, feeling so confident, playing great defensive baseball.
Guys, it's got to be frustrating too for Angel, because I was just talking to him. He told me, you know, I'm just feeling like I'm starting to get there, even though he's been hitting and playing well. He only had 4 extended spring games and 2 games in Buffalo before joining this team. And he said, even when I was hitting, I was fighting it. I'm just starting to feel like I'm getting in a groove. So the last thing he wants to do now that he's feeling that way is, of course, miss some time.
No, it's all he's done really for the last year or so is miss time. I mean, think about it. He got hurt the first week or second week in May last year. Had 2 pinch hitting appearances the rest of the season and was out for the year, needed shoulder surgery. Then he missed most of spring training this year with the elbow, and as Kevin mentioned, just came back and played a couple of games in the minors before joining the Mets, and here he is having to go to the clubhouse again. We'll get you a report as soon as we can. Here's Jorge Cantu with the tying run at second, and Maine moves him back 1-0. Cantu lined out to third his first time.
John's got to watch himself here. You know, sometimes you get caught up in what's happening on the field. You take those, you know, few kind of practice throws, but sometimes you lose your concentration a little. He's got to snap right back to where he was.
And the slider misses badly to Cantu, and it's 2-0. Now, every team has injuries, but there are some years where the injuries pile up differently. As Cantu pops one up into shallow left, a long one for Valdez with the angle near the tarp, and he can't quite get it. Good effort by Wilson Valdez, but it just barely fell beyond his reach.
Well, good try by Wilson. No chance for Wright to catch it. He gets there in time, just off the end of his glove. Not only battling how far he had to go, also the sun and that tarp.
The angle of the stands and that tarp in front of it on both sides is so difficult for the infielders and the corner outfielders, because you not only have the closeness of it, but that low fence that you have to deal with on both sides, which is so dangerous.
You know, you couldn't do it on that play, but what the infielders and outfielders are going to have to try to do, Gary, is they're going to have to use their speed to get to the fence and then work their way back to the ball if they have to, because it's just too close to be able to time it to get over there. You're going to end up hurting yourself.
Even if you catch the ball, you're going to wind up flipping over that low railing in a lot of cases. Cantu bloops one. Castillo taking charge as Murphy gets out of the way, and that's the second out. Nicely handled by Castillo, as Murphy, going back on that ball, had a difficult angle.
Well, they're both out there, and that's good to help with this kind of sun, but Castillo calls him off the baseball. Much better angle for Louis.
So 2 out in the inning. Ramirez still at second, and now Jeremy Hermida, who took a call third strike his first time up. Maine's given up 2 hits. They've both been doubles. Ugla hit one high off the fence in left in the second, and then Ramirez with the double that resulted in the Pagan injury here in the fourth.
Now, that play by Louis just reminds you here, all the infielders are going to have to be alert to get out there. This big field pushes the outfielders back, and there's a lot of room between the infielders and outfielders. Never take anything for granted.
0-2 to Hermida. Good changeup by Maine. And the other thing is, you've got a very inexperienced right fielder.
2 changeups now in a row to Hermida. Of course, who hit that changeup but up off Tim Redding yesterday for a home run.
Two, up and away, 1-2. Talking about Fernando Martinez in right field, he has looked rather raw going after fly balls so far.
Well, I think what happens is that unless you're just an amazing, evolved kind of 20-year-old, you're going to be tentative because you don't want to make a mistake, and that's a hard way to play.
1-2 from Maine, and Hermida pops one up. Will that stay in play? Wright coming over, has enough room, and that retires the side. So Maine works around the double for Hanley Ramirez. We go to the bottom of the fourth. Wright to lead off, 1-0. American Airlines meant to begin a week-long road trip tomorrow night with Levon Hernandez on the mound against Ian Snell in Pittsburgh. 4 games against the Pirates, then 3 in D.C. before the Mets return home a week from Tuesday to take on the Phillies here at Citi Field. Chris Volstad will face the heart of the Mets batting order as we go to the bottom of the 4th. Wright, Sheffield, and Murphy. David grounded into a double play his first time up. Mets have had only 1 hit by a player who's no longer in the game. Angel Pagan driving home the run and then forced to leave, hurting his leg while chasing after a double by Ramirez. And a breaking ball strike from Volstad, 0-1, and he's now unveiling his curveball second time around the order.
What must Angel be thinking? Every single time he's played for the Mets the last couple of years, when he's played wonderfly, and just always stops and starts because of the injuries. Just, you feel awful for the young man.
Two and one to Wright. He fouls it off. Well, you know, it's one thing if you have a 40-plus Moises Alou who has, a long injury history, and you can kind of shrug your shoulders and say that's the way it's going to go. But with a younger player who's yet to really establish himself, struck him out with a high fastball. Volstad gets Wright for his second strikeout. The word on Pagan, he left the game with right groin discomfort, which could cover a lot of ground. So not very serious to very serious. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, it depends. I mean, Hanley Ramirez just missed a handful of games with that condition.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Sheffield, who struck out his first time up. And he takes ball 1.
Well, defensively, you see Ramirez, the shortstop, playing way in the hole, gives Sheffield almost the entire to the right of the pitcher up the middle. Free.
Rounded right down to the third baseman. Bonifacio takes a lot of time, and the throw just nips Sheffield at first. It's the second time in this game we've seen a Marlins infielder hold the ball almost too long.
Well, I think what Bonifacio was thinking, that Sheffield's running. Once he makes the play, he's going to have plenty of time. Kind of very deliberate, and it was a fine play and a hot shot down that third base line. But, you know, Sheffield still can run. And when he stood up, that's when he panicked to put something on it and just got Sheffield, who was hustling all the way.
Well, we certainly saw night before last the way Sheffield can run, stealing a base in the 11th inning that led to the winning run. Daniel Murphy grounded out to first base his first time and takes a fastball strike, 1-1. Volstad working quickly and grounded weakly down to Cantu again. So a very easy inning for Volstad against the heart of the Mets batting order. 4 in the books now at Citi Field. Still 1-0 Mets. Well, is it going to be dunked? Is somebody going to dunk the guy in the Marlins uniform?
Strike.
There we go. Very nice.
But it's not water.
It's not water.
Come
it's
on.
a bunch of pillows and stuff. Yeah. Well, it's 2009.
Maybe when it's really hot, then summer I can go there.
Dan Uggla leads off in the 5th inning against John Main, who's allowed just 2 hits, and Uggla has one of them. Well, if you don't want to be dunking people in Marlins uniforms, you can go play wiffle ball. That's a nice shot right up the middle. Can she do it again? There are scouts from T-ball teams all across the metropolitan area.
You know what I've been watching, and I've never really watched it before, but it's been on the TV every day. Uggla pops up.
Looking through the sunshine, Castillo taking charge. Off to the side, he makes the grab for the first out.
Been watching a lot of that college women's softball tournament. Boy, they are spirited, and the pitchers just really dominate the game.
Speaking of the college game, the hardball version,
I got wiped off the map.
There is a piece of your legacy that took a big hit last night. If you don't know, Ronnie was involved in one of the great college pitchers duels of all time, well chronicled by Roger Angel. 1981?
81.
You and Frank Viola going 12 innings.
I told Frankie I made him $100,000 that day.
And that was a fantastic performance on both of your parts. But what happened in Austin, Texas last night might just push you ever so slightly to the side.
It supersedes mine. I give the mantle to them.
If you don't know, Texas played Boston College last night in an NCAA regional. Texas won the game in 25 innings, which is an NCAA record, 3-2. In that game, a Texas reliever named, of all things, Austin Woods, came in relief in the 7th inning as Baker draws a walk. Came in the 7th inning, did not allow a hit until the 19th inning. He went 12 1/3 innings in relief without giving up a hit before he finally was touched. Threw 169 pitches in 13 innings of relief. Struck out 14. That's pretty
unbelievable.
Pretty
I mean, to come in the middle of the game. His parents now have a lawsuit against the coach for $35 million.
Here's Cody Ross, and he takes a strike.
Did you say how many pitches he threw? He threw
169.
Wow.
And you know what the worst part about that is for BC? Not only did they lose the game in 25 innings, the game was 7 hours and 3 minutes, ended about 2 o'clock this morning Eastern time. They have to go back and play this afternoon in an elimination game, double elimination tournament.
Well, the only thing I will say to that young pitcher, Austin, is that job well done, but you still have one more thing to do, because I threw 167 in my game that day, and I pitched an inning the next day. So if he pitches, well, he can't pitch today.
Oh, yeah, they play today.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they play 6 o'clock today.
We'll see if
they
he
get a few more hours
today.
That would be something. Big cut by Ross at the fastball, 0-2. Ross flied to center his first time up.
John has been throwing a lot of pitches into the right-handed hitters. That is just great to see, because he can double up in there, or he can use that good slider away to Ross. Good pitch count so far. Look at that, strikes to ball ratio. I tell you, very Santana-like.
He's ahead on Ross, 0-2. And the slider misses, 1-2. With the pitcher Volstad on deck. 1-0 New York. We're in the 5th. And a nice play by Santos to keep that ball from going to the backstop.
That's one of those where John just held on to that slider a little too long and made like an infielder did Santos with that backhanded play.
Schneider made a similar play yesterday.
Very nimble, both the Mets catchers now.
Let's check in with Kevin.
Guys, you were talking about Omir Santos before and his ability to control a game and call a game, and I was asking some of the pitchers about that as well. I'm talking to Mike Pelfrey, and he said something interesting. He said, you know what, Santos makes me throw my off-speed stuff. And I said, what do you mean by that? He said, well, during a game, in for me especially unlikely situations where I've thrown it before, he puts a sign down, and it gives me confidence. I'm like, oh, you know what? Let's go. Let's do it. Let's throw it there. Perfect example in Boston. He said a 3-2 count. He threw 2 off-speed pitches, a curveball, and then a slider to J.G. Drew. He sit on a full count. He's never before thrown back-to-back off-speed pitches until that point.
Popped up out behind second base, and another chance for Castillo for the second out. 3 of the last 4 outs recorded by Maine have come on pop-ups to Castillo.
Kevin, you make a very good point, and the point is sometimes when you're out on that mound and you're in between, just the way a catcher gives you the sign, the confidence in the way he puts it down can sometimes sway you to that pitch. Seems like Santos is doing that.
Because you always say you'd rather throw your second best pitch with 100% conviction than your best pitch with 50%.
Never want to be. That was Mel Stottlemyre's thing. Always be 100% behind whatever pitch you're throwing. Doesn't matter the choice sometimes.
Volstad struck out his first time up. Maine's 1-1, foul back. And now he's ahead on Volstad 1-2.
We've seen some really good pitching by some young pitchers in this series, haven't we? Sean West and Pelfrey were outstanding and working quickly. Boy, the game was 2 hours after 8 innings or so.
I think one thing we've learned on this homestand and throughout the early portion of the season is that the National League East is stocked with a lot of very good young pitchers. 1-2 off the plate, 2-2.
And I also think maybe taking their cue from Santana, but I think also that Dan Warthen, we're starting to see his stamp on these pitchers and how they're trying to work quickly. The starters, at least. It's different, I think, for relievers. There's Danny.
2-2. Struck him out. John Maine strikes out Volstad for the second time, his 4th strikeout of the day. We're halfway through at Citi Field. The Mets leading the Marlins 1-0. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by ChevyOffers.com. Find your nearest dealer on ChevyOffers.com. There's your line score, brought to you by your local tri-state Volkswagen dealers. Not a whole lot of hitting in this game. 1 hit for the Mets, 2 for the Marlins. Mets up 1-0 as we check in with Kevin Burkhardt.
Guys, on that note, ever wonder what Howard Johnson does during a game? And we talk a lot about him and what he does off the field and, between games and before games. But during a game, he has to get in every at-bat with every player. He said, when the Mets are up, he said, I'm in every bat. I'm thinking along with the hitter every single pitch because that helps me get with them later and talk about situations and understand what they are feeling. I asked him about dealing with all the different personalities and the different traits that the hitters have, and if there's kind of an overall umbrella approach or if it's a different approach for every guy. And he said, well, from a conceptual standpoint, you try and go with a few fundamentals that everybody is the same with here. As Fernando Martinez swings at the first pitch and Uggla puts him away. And he said, but that's where it really stays. He said, because then when you're talking about mechanically, every single person is different. And he said, you use some of these things. So when I get in with these at-bats with these players, there are some guys, he named Murphy and Wright as guys I can go up to as soon as they come off the at-bat, tell them something I saw on felt, and they can make the adjustment the next time. Other guys, he said, I'll maybe wait till later in the game. They have to kind of get out of that zone. Some guys I can't really talk to during the game. So it's definitely a feel thing, and everybody's a little bit different than Hojo deals with, guys.
The advantage they have now is that you can do instant instruction between innings in that batting cage, which is about 3 steps from the dugout.
Kevin made an interesting point. Personally, I don't want to be over-analyzing my delivery during the game. I just want to compete during the game. We'll do that on 2 days from now when I throw on the side.
Santos lifts one to right center field. A long run back for Ross in the gap, and he runs it down. That ball just hung up there long enough for Ross to get there for the second out.
Well, nice job by Cody Ross. Showed that speed. And the curveball here from Volstad hanging right in the middle of the plate. Nice job. Remember that curveball drill that the Mets worked on in spring training? Taking it the other way. And he drove that ball. Just Ross, good athletic ability, closing that and making that catch. Volstad happy about that. Gets him the second out of the inning.
Marlins never really envisioned Cody Ross as a center fielder. Much more as a corner guy, but he actually plays pretty well out there as Wilson Valdez takes a strike.
In a game where there's some players that lack baseball instincts, Cody Ross has great baseball instincts. He always gets a great jump, always seems to run to the right spot.
Valdez has scored the only run of this game after walking in the third, and he takes inside 2-0.
Guys, just to button up the Hojo thing, I asked him if he channels anything he did when he was a player to his coaching. He said not a thing. He said the only thing that I'd take with it is I had a lot of different styles of hitting, and I was a switch hitter. Both helped me, and that is a quick inning as Volstad makes the play and the Mets are done. Gary?
All right, thanks, Kevin. Well, Hojo was quite the fastball hitter, wasn't he?
It was.
He could turn around just about anybody's fastball. We go to the 6th, 1-0 New York. TV. Check out the variety LATV has to offer. Well, John Maine with 5 scoreless innings. This is pretty much the way he pitches against Florida. He's now worked 16 innings against the Marlins this year and given up 2 earned runs and only 5 hits in those 16 innings. They'll take on the top of the batting order for Florida. Coghlan, Bonifacio, and Ramirez in the top of the 6th. Chris Coghlan 0 for 2, and he takes a first pitch strike. As Maine has been ahead of just about everybody today. He's walked 1, he's struck out 4. And there's a strike 0-2.
I'll tell you, this crew has been. This is the reason you have these quick games. This crew has had a very good strike zone, a little larger than most strike zones we've seen. Bill Welke today, given that ball in the outside corner and down.
And there's a strikeout for Maine on the breaking ball in the dirt. Santos completes the putout, getting Coghlan. That's 5 strikeouts for Maine. 1 out and nobody on in the 6th. This Marlins team has struck out more than any team in the National League. You go back to 2005, the Marlins had the lowest strikeout rate in the National League, but then they had guys like Luis Castillo, they had Juan Pierre, Paul LaDuca, all guys who struck out very little. They got rid of all 3 of those guys after the 05 season, and in every year since 06, 07, 08, and this year 09, the Marlins have had the most strikeouts in the league.
Striking out a lot is not a good thing. We've seen it's really helped the Mets, right? They're cutting down on their strikeouts in their lineup. You have to have a good balance, though. I mean, if you're going to have a strikeout guy, Ryan Howard's not a bad strikeout guy.
He better be a home run
guy.
By the way, did you see the ball Howard hit last night?
I didn't see. He told me it was, 4-something?
3rd deck in right field in Philadelphia. Only the 2nd ball that's been hit there. They said 475. It was at least that, and oh, by the way, it was a grand slam.
He also added a solo shot, and that grand slam gave him 8 in his career, which pushes him past Mike Schmidt.
And he's got a few more years to go, I think.
I think so.
Look at the low pitch count for Maine, only 75 working in the 6th inning. Up and away, and now behind Bonifacio, 3-1 with Hanley Ramirez on deck. And ball 4 as Bonifacio made quite an assumption there. Now the tying run is aboard. Hanley Ramirez coming up, and let's check in with Kevin.
Guys, I'm hiding behind the Met Bat Boys with certainly a well-known Met fan, Jon Stewart of The Daily Show. We all know him. How are you?
I'm a little disorganized, a little discombobulated. It's my first time at Citi Field. I don't know where the AG sign is up there. I don't know where Art Shamsky's ex-wife put the notches on the thing. I don't know what's going on here. I'm a little confused. I just ate real good food.
You can't possibly be a Chase.
So what? I don't understand what's going on here. What, do you treat me like a human?
What are your impressions, though, to this new place? Other than the fact that everything is so new.
It's wonderful. Obviously as a Brooklyn Dodger fan, it reminds me of Ebbets Field, but it's great. The Met fan, with the suffering that we've been through, I think let's face facts. We all deserve lazy boy chairs for what we've been through.
That's a fair point. Hanley Ramirez is about it here in a big spot for the Marlins. Is there any truth? I was looking at
We're supposed to be paying attention to the game.
Well, we could, but a lot of people here are kind of walking around. It's got that lazy Sunday feel, don't you think?
It's unbelievable.
And
it's a sushi bar.
Didn't have that at Shea.
I think they did. It was just old dead fish. We just ate it.
For those who are brave enough, I was looking at the some of the ratings the other day from your show. Is it true? Was the Ron Darling show the highest rated ever?
Amongst a certain demographic.
Demographic was that?
Aging ball players. I think Sid Fernandez watched it and he counts as 3. So he scored very high with aging Hawaiian pitchers. So we got Sid Fernandez and Sid Fernandez.
Ronnie, absolutely excellent work. I'm proud of you for that.
Ronnie was tremendous. Very, very poised. He was excellent. He did excellent work. And he kept saying backstage, he goes, I'm going to make Keith Hernandez look like Rusty Staub. What is it?
John, I'm going to let you go hang with your beautiful daughter Maggie here and go enjoy the game. But thanks for saying hi, okay?
It's always great to see you guys. I can't wait to see you again soon.
Guys, back up to you for Hanley.
Thank you to Kevin, and thank you to John and Maggie.
He's hilarious, really unbelievable. So quick. And honestly, a great guy and a big Mets fan.
Glad he's enjoying the food. 1-1 to Ramirez, who doubled his last time up. And he lines one the other way, a base hit. Bonifacio turns second, heads for third. Martinez's throw not in time. And now the Marlins have the tying run at third base with one out. So Ramirez's second hit of the game as he takes one the other way.
Well, this is what makes Ramirez so difficult to pitch to. He can throw the ball in the outside corner. He can go that way. Nice job by Martinez getting to that ball, but you're certainly not going to get Bonifacio, who cuts these bases as well as anyone in the game. Look at that ball. Fastball, not in a horrible place. And just full extension by Ramirez, hitting that ball in the hole.
So the Marlins have just 3 hits, and Ramirez has 2 of them. And now they're a fly ball away from tying this game with Jorge Cantu, who's lined to third and popped to second. First and third and one out. And Cantu takes inside ball 1.
Interesting. John Main's doing some things he's never done before. He's having a low pitch count, throwing a lot of first pitch strikes. Let's see if he can do something that hardly ever happens, and that's get a ground ball for a double play. See the middle infielders at double play depth.
He's gotten 3 ground ball outs so far in this game. And the breaking ball hit to third. Great stop by Wright. Back to first base in time for the double play. Wright caught it on the fly. Bo Porter, the third base coach, arguing that the ball hit the ground. Freddie Gonzalez will come out to argue as well, but the call was that he caught it on the line, and then he doubles Ramirez off first base to get Maine out of the inning. A Gold Glove play by Wright to save Maine, and it's still 1-0.
Catching that ball just above the dirt. A lot of dirt came up after he caught this line drive, and I think that's why Porter and Gonzalez were disagreeing with the call by Angel Hernandez. But once David heard the call, proceeded to first for the double play.
John Maine leads off the home 6th inning and takes a strike. Maine sacrificed his first time up. Mets have had only 1 hit in this game off Chris Volstad, an RBI double by Angel Pagan in the 3rd.
Volstad looks like he's locked in. The first 3 innings took him 43 pitches to get through. 4th and the 5th, 17 pitches.
You know, both these pitchers throwing a lot of strikes today. Jeremy Reed getting set for his first at bat of the game. Took over for the injured Pagan in the 4th inning. And Volstad, relying on his sinker, has gotten tons of ground balls today. And misses low to Maine, 2-2. And he gets Maine swinging. 3rd strikeout of the day for Volstad. He's now retired 8 in a row. So 1 out and nobody on. 22-year-old Chris Volstad, who made his debut with the Marlins last year, going 6-4 in 14 starts, 4-3 this year. Well, the Mets got only one earned run against Volstad in his 2 starts against them last year, and they've gotten just one today as Jeremy Reed fouls off the first offering.
Well, you got one pitcher, Maine, who has a history of doing well against the team, and Volstad, who's starting his own history of doing well against the Mets. Maybe not Josh Johnson-like, but...
Another ground ball for Volstad, and Uggla makes the play for the second out. Well, it's like I was saying before, during this homestand, you start to understand that with the young pitchers that the Nationals are finally throwing out there now, and with the young staff of the Marlins, and guys like Jurgens in Atlanta, you've got the makings of, and of course Cole Hamels in Philadelphia, you've got the makings of some extraordinary pitching in this division in the years to come.
Absolutely. We just saw the Nationals come through as Feliciano gets ready.
There's Castillo taking a strike.
Very simple motion for Volstad. Kind of just rears back and fires. Doesn't have any extra stuff, and that's what you want for a very tall pitcher. Just stand tall, just lift that front leg, and just let gravity take that 6'8" frame straight through to the plate. Doesn't push off that much with that back leg.
We were talking yesterday about pitchers who pitch tall. He pitches tall.
He pitches tall. Chris Young for the San Diego Padres, he pitches tall.
2-2 to Castillo, who's drawn a walk and grounded out to third, 0 for 1.
And we said that every tall pitcher doesn't pitch tall. Randy Johnson, who's 6'10", doesn't pitch tall because he throws 3/4.
Now the 2-2 to Castillo. Breaking ball bounced up the first baseline, foul.
Probably saying to yourself, well, why can't the Met hitters lift this ball from Volstad? Well, everything goes down. His sinker has great movement down. His changeup is always down. And his curveball straight over the top is working its way down. So hard to hit the bottom part of the ball. Everyone hitting the top part of the ball.
Which makes it that much more shocking that he had given up 10 home runs in his last 7 starts. Castillo flares one to shallow left. No man's land. Ramirez can't get there. Boots it around a little bit. Castillo trying for 2, and he makes it safely. A little parachute for Castillo that winds up as a 2-base hit.
Well, the only person who had to play at that was Ramirez, who doesn't get the handle on it. And why is the only player? Other teams, the left fielder probably would have had to play at that ball, but Conklin, who is the left fielder for the Florida Marlins, plays a little deeper because he's a former infielder.
So Castillo with only his 6th extra base hit of the season.
See this here? You want Ramirez to let the outfielder make that play. Why? The outfielder's coming in, working his way towards second base. Easier throw.
So now David Wright is grounded into a double play and struck out. David hitless in his last 11 at bats, looking to pick up Castillo from second with 2 out. And Wright takes low, ball 1. David, even with his recent struggles, 7th in the National League in batting and hitting .348 on the year with runners in scoring position. And he bounces one foul, 1-1. David coming back from his first day off of the season yesterday. It would not have been a full day off had the Mets gotten one more base runner in the 9th. He was set to pinch hit. Gary Sheffield waiting on deck. Two and one to Wright. There goes Castillo, and Wright fouls it off. Castillo had a huge jump heading for third.
Well, see, no one's holding him on, and the pitcher's not paying any attention to him.
Well, you're going to steal third with 2 out, you have to make it. And he could have walked into third, but no matter. Wright fouled it off. Next Saturday on the Picks Game of the Week, the Mets head to D.C. to dish out some capital punishment on the Nationals pitching staff. Picks brings you up close for every at-bat all game long. The Mets battle the Nationals next Saturday night at 7 o'clock right here on Picks. Two and two to Wright. Pulled foul.
You know, we saw Louis trying to steal third base. One of the things he should try to concentrate on himself and raise his shines is a team that has 42 errors. A lot of those in the infield. So if you get a great jump, if David hits the ball on the ground, you want to round third really hard. You might be able to steal a run.
Volstad's 2-2, and Wright pops one to shallow right. In comes Hermida to put it away and end the inning. So Volstad works around the 2-out double by Castillo, and we head for the 7th with the Mets still nursing a 1-0 lead. Brewers up 2-0 on the Reds. Brewers tied for first place with the Cardinals starting play today. Cardinals are in San Francisco later on this afternoon. As John Maine was throwing in his warm-up pitches, getting ready for the 7th inning, something has befallen him, and Michael Herbst, the assistant trainer out there, along with Jerry Manuel, and he is done. So Maine is going to be forced to leave this game. The second Met leaving because of apparent injury. Angel Pagan was forced to leave earlier when he suffered groin discomfort running after a fly ball. And now Maine, who's pitched brilliantly for 6 innings today, is going to be forced to exit. And Pedro Feliciano will come on with the left-hand hitter Jeremy Hermida due to lead off the 7th inning. We will try and find out more about Maine when we come back. This call to the bullpen is brought to you by Hyundai. Get special financing and up to $6,000 cash back on select models now. Maine leaving because of injury with the Mets up 1-0. John Main, who had thrown 6 shutout innings, went to the mound for the 7th, warmed up, but something befell him. We have no idea exactly what. And so he's going to exit. Let's see if we can detect anything from his warm-up tosses.
Well, this is his last one before Santos throws it down. If you watch John, he reaches a little bit to his side. See that? Like a little uncomfortable. Certainly don't know. At this point, we'll wait to see what we get.
Jeremy Hermida leads off in the 7th inning and takes a strike from Feliciano. Hermida today is taking a call third strike and fouled out to third. Feliciano was the winning pitcher in the game here on Friday night. Got the last out in the top of the 11th before the Mets pulled that out in the bottom of the 11th. And Hermida with a big cut at the slider, 1-2.
Now, for you fans at home, you're saying to yourself, how could he be pitching in this beautiful game and then all of a sudden get injured? Well, a lot of times in between innings, which we don't see, there's dialogue between the pitcher, pitching coach, trainer, that there might be an uneasiness, or I'm feeling a little twitch here or there, and then I'm going to keep going out there until it befalls him, and which it did.
And Hermida down swinging at the slider, so Feliciano comes in and notches a strikeout from his first batter.
A great job by Pedro down there, just relaxing, and the next thing you know, has to throw about 25-30 warm-up pitches, and each one perfect here to Hermida.
Now you got the right-hand batting Ugla and then the left-hand batting Baker, but remember, Ugla the last couple of years has really struggled against left-handed pitching. And he will stay in, Feliciano will, to face Ugla, who has one of the 3 Marlins hits, a double high off the wall and left in the 2nd. And he gets that pitch in on him, 0-1.
That's that cutter, as you see Bobby Parnell warming up, the right-hander for the Mets. That's the cutter that Pedro Feliciano was talking to Kevin about that he's been working on. Nice pitch.
Improving his chances against the right-handers. And Ugla pops one up, shallow right. In comes Martinez, and that's the 2nd out. So 2 up and 2 quickly set aside in the top of the 7th inning. So Mets lost Angel Pagan to a groin injury earlier in the game. They lose John Main. We don't know exactly why, but boy, Main and Volstad putting on quite a clinic here today.
Well, you know, a lot of lineups now are taught, offensive lineups, to work the starting pitcher, get him out of the game. But you can't do that when you're throwing first pitch strikes. And both pitchers working quickly, throwing all 3 of their pitches for strikes, and it's been the difference in this game, and that's why you're playing into the 7th inning, and it's 2:46.
Now John Baker, and he takes a fastball for a strike. The other thing we don't know with Maine, I mean, Beltran had the stomach virus that forced him out yesterday and kept him out today. I know Josh Johnson, the Marlins pitcher, also was struggling with a similar problem when he pitched yesterday. So we don't know. It could be just about anything.
And the reason we even mention it is because in close proximity, when you are with a ball club, if someone gets usually the flu or a stomach flu, it usually goes throughout the whole clubhouse.
0-2, and Baker lays off 1-2. Cody Ross would be next. Now the 1-2. He struck him out. No! Oh, wow. Baker appeared to swing and gets a pass. Bill Logie, the third base umpire, said no swing. Look at this.
Yeah, well, all you can say is that he missed the call. Simple as that. Good slider from Pedro Feliciano. Baker could have got a base hit if he made contact with that swing.
Well, based on the way they call it these days,
yes.
That wasn't even close. Jerry Manuel quite perturbed. Now the 2-2 is fouled off. You have to say the parameters of what is considered a swinging strike has changed. They've changed over the years to the point where if you make just about any motion, they're going to ring you up. But not this time. 2-2 to Baker. Fouled away again.
Well, it used to be, Gary, that really if a guy went around, he knew it. There were very few kind of fractionalized swings where someone would go, no, I didn't go. It was really blatant when they went around. Now, if you get that head of the bat almost even with that plate, you're usually going to get punched out.
2-2. Breaking ball bounced to second. So Castillo makes the play. Feliciano brought in unexpectedly, comes in to get the Marlins out 1-2-3. Seventh inning stretch time. Sheffield to lead off the bottom of the seventh, 1-0 New York. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Lexus and the newly expanded IS line. J.J. Putz getting ready in the Mets bullpen after Pedro Feliciano pitched a 1-2-3 seventh. Putz getting ready for the eighth.
What a great job by Feliciano. That is not easy to be down there and not expecting to be in the game that quickly. And he got ready and, boy, went right through that Florida Marlin lineup.
And he was in a position where he had as much time as he needed to warm up, and he didn't take very much time. And sometimes that's a problem, although with relief pitchers, often it doesn't take them that long to get ready.
I always thought it was an advantage to warm up on the mound that you're going to pitch on.
Well, we got word on John Maine, and as we somewhat speculated, it was a stomach virus that clearly is now infiltrating the Mets clubhouse. Took out Beltran and now has felled John Maine for the afternoon. And obviously, John feels terribly, I'm sure, but that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not something more long-lasting.
Well, I think that's the problem. Is when I watched him, his body language was he was irritated out there that he was going to be taken out. But again, these conversations take place over a couple of hours, and everyone is, the trainers and Jerry and everyone knows that he is not feeling well and decided to pull the plug.
So the Mets will look to add to their 1-0 lead as they come to bat against Chris Volstad, who's done a great job this afternoon. He's thrown just 81 pitches in 6 innings as Gary Sheffield leads off the home seventh and takes outside ball one. Sheffield is struck out and grounded out 0 for 2. So Wright and Sheffield both had the day off yesterday. Both have gone hitless so far today. And Sheffield takes the curveball for a strike, 1-1. Talking to Jerry Manuel yesterday, he said, I have to give Sheffield 2 days off a week. Drive down the left field line toward the corner. Foul. What a bullet by Sheffield.
There is nobody who hits the ball out of this ballpark quicker than Sheffield. What was that, a second?
Unbelievable. He has always swung harder than anybody else in the game, generating incredible bat speed. And what makes Sheffield remarkable is, with all of that, he really doesn't strike out very much.
Volstad needs another second after that bolt.
He has to redress himself. Little tapper, tough play for Bonifacio. He can put that in his pocket. Infield hit for Gary Sheffield. Volstad taking the ball from Bonifacio, just snatched at it with his pitching hand. It's like he was able to survive that crushing blow to the corner, but the 40-foot ground ball beats him.
Outside, not a bad pitch. Sheff gets on top of that ball, and as soon as he hit it, you know where Bonifacio's got to be playing. As deep as he can. Infield hit for Sheffield with a smile.
Well, remember that Sheffield stole a base in a big spot in the 11th inning on Friday night. Now Daniel Murphy up, and Murphy has gone 0 for 6 in this series after his big game against the Nats on Wednesday. Let's see whether Jerry would be inclined to bunt with Murphy here.
Well, the entire staff of the Marlins has struggled, along with John Baker, the catcher, throwing out runners. Only 5 for 32 is John thrown out, so good time for the Mets maybe to take advantage of that.
Murphy showing bunt and gets it down. Volstad will have to go to first. Nicely done by Murphy. Sacrifice goes 1-3. Sheffield up to second with 1 out.
Well, the man who struggled early in his career to bunt has all of a sudden, with hard work, learned how to bunt. Perfect form for Murph. Nice angle of the bat. A little firm. Volstad had a shot if he had come off the mound a little quicker. But conservative play to first base.
So now an RBI chance for Fernando Martinez, who's been up twice today and grounded out to the second baseman both times. Mets have had only 3 hits this afternoon. And really, if you think about it, only 1 solid hit as Brian Sanchez gets up in the Marlins bullpen. Pagan had that opposite field double down the left field line. The other 2 hits, the bloop double by Castillo, and then that little infield roller by Sheffield. Volstad's been that good. And Martinez takes wide. 2-0.
Well, this will be interesting to watch the young man Martinez. His reaction here. There's a base open. Volstad's first 2 pitches have been off the plate. How aggressive will Martinez be?
And he takes a fastball for a strike. 2-1.
Nice job by Fernando. No way you could hit that pitch right in the corner by Volstad.
Volstad still under 90 pitches working in the 7th inning. Just a little look back at Sheffield to make him know he's aware. Volstad virtually ignored Castillo when he was at second base in the last inning. And Martinez hits one the other way over toward the left field line, and it goes to the corner. Coghlan got a terrible read on that ball. Sheffield scores easily, and Fernando Martinez pulls in with an opposite field double, and it's 2-0 New York.
Well, nice hitting by Fernando Martinez after grounding out to the second baseman twice. He decides to go with this sinker away from Volstad. Catches a little too much of the plate. As he drives this ball to left field, the inexperienced left fielder, who used to be an outfielder, used to be an infielder, sorry, does not take the right route on this ball, although he would never have caught it where he was positioned.
Sheffield able to score easily, so Jerry Manuel showing a lot of faith in Fernando Martinez, bunting Murphy in front of him, and Martinez repays that faith with a run-scoring double. His 3rd run batted in, coming on his 3rd big league hit. Mark Wiley, the Marlins pitching coach, out to talk to Volstad as they get the bullpen prepared. J.J. Putz getting ready to pitch the top of the 8th. Meanwhile, Omir Santos stepping in and looking to drive Fernando Martinez in from second base. Santos robbed him a hit his first time up today on a nice sliding catch in right field by Hermida, fly to center in the 5th. Two 0 New York. We're in the 7th. And Santos hits one in the air to left field. Coghlan back onto the track, right near the wall. He can't get it. Bounding back toward the infield. Martinez scores. Santos in the 2nd with an RBI double, and it's 3-0 Mets. Yet another big hit for Omir Santos.
Fastball in. We've seen anything that's in and up. Santos with that really good short swing, able to lift that to left field. Coghlan cannot make the play, did not get back there in time. Still would have been a very difficult play. High off the wall. And an important 3rd run for Omir Santos and the Mets.
So back-to-back run-scoring doubles for Fernando Martinez and Omir Santos, and now the Mets have a 3-run lead as Wilson Valdez steps in. And Freddie Gonzalez staying with Chris Volstad, who's weakening a bit here in the 7th. Valdez drops down a beauty of a bunt, and Baker's got no chance. You can't roll it out there any better.
Got it off the end of the bat, popped it up, and just killed it down that 3rd base line. Baker got on it very quickly, but no play at first. Good pitch, too, outside. Gets the right angle to get that down the 3rd base line. He doesn't need to peek. He's got enough speed for that base hit.
So Wilson Valdez with the 4th hit of the inning. Runners at 1st and 3rd. The entire infield grouping around to kill some time as Fernando Tatis gets set to pinch hit for New York. Batting for Feliciano. And we'll see whether Volstad gets to pitch to Tatis, or whether they'll go to the bullpen here. It all began with Sheffield, who barely missed a home run on a line drive foul down the left field line, and then hit a 35-foot roller for an infield hit. Murphy sacrificed. Martinez followed with a double to drive in Sheffield. Santos doubling off the wall to drive in Martinez, and now Valdez with the bunt hit. And Volstad will stay on to pitch to Tatis. Fernando hitting at .261. Started yesterday at 3rd base and had an RBI hit. That's now with 3 runs and 6 hits off Volstad. They had just 2 hits in this game coming into this inning. And Tatis lays off the fastball 1-0.
See the defense up the middle, double play depth. Uggla playing close to the bag. Outfield very deep, especially left fielder Coghlan.
Leaving that huge hole on the right side of the infield where Uggla's positioned. But Tatis has not been taking a lot of balls that way lately. Double play grinder right at Ramirez. And Uggla with the turn for the 6-4-3 double play to get Volstad through the inning. But the Mets put up 2 on RBI doubles by Fernando Martinez and Omir Santos. J.J. Putz coming on to pitch the 8th inning. Putz looking to play setup man. By your Tri-State Volkswagen dealers. Visit tristatevw.com for great deals on new Volkswagens. Here's your VW line score. Brought to you by your local Tri-State Volkswagen dealers. Mets adding 2 in the bottom of the 7th. And lead 3-0 as we head to the 8th. And J.J. Putz will come on.
Pitched in Friday night's game. Inning in 2/3. A walk and a strikeout.
Cody Ross leads off the 8th inning. Thinks about a bunt. Takes a strike. Ross is fly down and popped up 0 for 2. John Maine went 6 brilliant innings today. Allowed no runs and 3 hits. Looking to go to 5-1 lifetime against the Marlins. Had to leave because of a stomach virus. Pedro Feliciano picked up from him and pitched a 1-2-3 7th. And now puts in the 8th. And Ross takes a slider outside. 1-1. Cody Ross just 1 for 9 in this series. Ross Glode has come out on deck to pinch hit for the Marlins. Off the plate, it's 2-1. There's Glode, who grew up out in East Hampton. Must be nice to grow up in the Hamptons.
Boy, I'll tell you. I've only been there a couple times. It's beautiful.
Must be a little different than when Carl Yastrzemski grew up out there amidst the potato farms.
That's right. His dad was a potato farmer, right?
Line to left. Sheffield moving back and picks it off for the first out. Hard hit ball by Ross. 1 away.
Well, that's what you can do in this stadium. Even behind in the count, you can let him hit it, line drive. Nice hitting by Ross, but Sheffield playing deep enough to make that play look easy.
He plays with quite a calm out there for a guy who has not played a lot of outfield the last few seasons. So here is Glode, who grew up on the East End as a big Mets fan and most particularly a huge Keith Hernandez fan. And Glode takes the fastball high.
How old's Glode?
33.
33, so that would make him the right age when that 86 team won.
And he was primarily a first baseman playing in the American League with Kansas City and Chicago. Chris Coughlin on deck. And puts misses high to Glode. 2-0. Christian Martinez gets up in the Florida bullpen. He was just called up a few days ago. Mets have not seen him yet, and, well, we can barely see him, too. Two and 1 to Glode. Don't forget, for continuing coverage after we're done here, be sure to flip it over to SNY for Lincoln Mercury Postgame Live. Chris Carlin will be along with all the post-game highlights, interviews, and post-game reactions from Jerry Manuel. Lincoln Mercury post-game live on SNY after the game today and after every Mets game this year. 3-1 now to Glode. The Marlins have had just 3 hits today. Doubles by Ugla and Ramirez, and then Hanley Ramirez singled in the 6th. But a line drive double play caught beautifully by David Wright. Got Maine out of trouble in the 6th, his biggest spot of the day. Ball 4, and Glode is on with a walk. These have not been easy times for J.J. Putz.
You know, when I'm watching him throw, he's just so far, and at times he's been dominant, but he just has not had the ability to throw his fastball where he wants to all the time. And I think a big part of his game, to tell you the truth, is being able to spot that fastball and then throw his secondary pitches out of the strike zone.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Coughlin is at a rough day at the plate. 0 for 3. He has struck out twice. And the slider misses. Ball 1. Emilio Bonifacio waiting to hit next. And Coughlin bloops one shallow center. That's going to fall for a base hit. So a walk and a bloop single, and now the Marlins have first and second and one out, and they'll get the tying run to the plate here in the 8th inning.
Well, not hit very hard from Coughlin, but gets jammed a little bit, dumps it into center field. This is one of those games that, as a Met player, as a Mets fan, you got to have this game. 3-0. You had great effort by John Maine. You also had a fantastic effort by Volstad, who's one of the best young pitchers in the game, but you got him for 3 runs. You have to close this out.
Manuel and Worthen talking there, and you have to at least keep open the possibility, if Putz struggles here in the 8th, to bring in Parnell behind him. And just because Putz is your 8th inning guy doesn't mean that you have to leave him out there. So here's Bonifacio, who's 0 for 2 and a walk. And he takes below the knees, ball 1.
That's a good point, Gary, is that when you have such a resource like, or an asset like Bobby Parnell, you know, if Putz struggles, you get him up and you use him.
And that's exactly what's going to happen as Parnell begins to throw in the bullpen again. 1-0 to Bonifacio. And there's a strike. 1-1. So Parnell on call in case this becomes one of those innings for J.J. Putz.
He's already pretty warm, though, so I would say, you know, the most, 10 to 15 pitches, he'll be ready to go.
Glode and Coughlin, the base runners. And that misses high to Bonifacio, 2-1. There's something about the release of that splitter for Putz that just seems off.
You know, it's when you release that pitch, you really have to have it in front of your body. And it looks like right now in this season that JJ's having a tough time feeling for it, and he's letting it go a little too early.
Now the 2-1, swung and missed with fastball, and it's 2-2.
Interesting swing there, right, from Bonifacio, a singles hitter. Looks like he was trying to do a little too much with that fastball away.
He has 1 home run this year, and that was an inside the park home run. Now the 2-2 from Putz. Low and inside. And a full count to Bonifacio. Bonifacio, a guy who struggles with strikeouts, so you don't figure Freddie Gonzalez to put the runners in motion here. Big out for Putz to get with Hanley Ramirez on deck. 3-2. Hit hard, base hit. Load to third. He'll be waved home. Martinez will make the throw into the infield. It's an RBI single for Emilio Bonifacio, and now the Met lead is 3-1, and the Marlins have the tying runs on base with Hanley Ramirez coming up. And Jerry Manuel is going to waste no time. He's going to bring in Bobby Parnell.
Well, 3-2 fastball down and in. Nice job by Bonifacio getting that into the outfield. And really the walk to Glode, who scores here the first Marlins run, hurts J.J. Putz.
So Putz will exit after retiring only 1 batter. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Hyundai. Get special financing and up to $6,000 cash back on select models now. Bobby Parnell comes in to try and bail him out.
We see Bobby's numbers very good. Has been unscored upon in 18 of his 24 appearances. He has struggled, though, a little since being the 100-mile-per-hour man in Boston, just with his control.
And he comes in here to face the best hitter in the Marlins lineup, Hanley Ramirez, who's 2 for 3 today, and is also 2 for 3 in his career against Parnell, tying runs on base in the 8th inning. And Ramirez lines his first pitch into right field for a base hit. Coghlan turns third. He heads on home. Martinez's throw cut off. It's an RBI single for Ramirez. It's a 3-2 Met lead, and the tying run is on third. The third hit of the day for Hanley Ramirez on the first pitch thrown by Parnell.
Again, Ramirez going the other way like he did in his previous at-bat. Striking the ball to right field. Lucky to have Bonifacio on first base again, as Coghlan will score the second run and just cannot throw out Bonifacio at third base. Good cut there by Murphy.
So the Mets, who had a 3-0 lead starting this 8th inning, finding that lead very much in jeopardy now. A fly ball away from tying the game. Cantu has lined out twice in this game, once into a double play, officially 0 for 3. And Cantu takes a slider for a strike. The only out in this inning was a searing line drive to left field by Cody Ross. Since then, 4 straight Marlins have reached base. Bonifacio the tying run at third. Ramirez at first. Great speed on the bases for Florida in a 3-2 game. And Cantu takes low and inside, 1-1. Jeremy Hermida waits on deck. Now Cantu swings and misses. Parnell surprised him with that pitch. It's 1-2.
He got away with a hanging slider here by Bobby Parnell, but you get away with that sometimes when you throw 95, 96 miles an hour.
Cantu unable to make that adjustment. And now it's 1-2.
Parnell and Santos unable to agree on this pitch here to Cantu.
Now the 1-2. He struck him out. Big strikeout for Bobby Parnell for the second out of the inning.
Well, a good fastball hitter in Cantu. What does Parnell counter with? Nice slider. Ahead in the count. Take a chance on throwing that in the dirt. See if he swings over the top. Nice pitching by Bobby.
So that pins the runner at third. Now there are 2 out. And here is Hermida, who's gone 0 for 3 today with a couple of strikeouts after a big offensive day yesterday. And Parnell's fastball misses low, 96 miles an hour, 1-0. Hermida has a hit in his only career at bat against Parnell. Dan Uggla on deck. And Hermida lifts one to left. Sheffield back. He's there. Side retired. Now Parnell gives up a run scoring hit to Ramirez, but then gets 2 huge outs. And the Mets hold on to the lead, 3-2. With an Empire Suite for single games during the Mets' inaugural season at Citi Field. Experience the intimacy, luxury, comfort, and superior views. A limited number of suites are available per game. Call 718-803-4053 today. Now Bobby Parnell doing some big work for the Mets in that 8th inning.
Well, you know what was really impressive? Cantu has been a Mets killer this season. Up, all he has to do is hit a fly ball. You know, you talk about all the time, can he steal a base when you need to steal a base? Can he get a strikeout when you have to have a strikeout? He did. Every day, Kiko Calero in for the Marlins, sorry. Pitched in the first game on Friday night, did a nice job. Only 13 hits and 24 innings pitched.
Jeremy Reed at the top of the batting order will lead things off for New York. This is Calero's 30th game of the year. The most in the National League as Reed bluffs a bunt and takes a strike.
He's on a pace to rival 100 as you see Frankie Rodriguez up.
K-Rod's been perfect in save opportunities this year. Mets will try and get him some insurance here in the bottom of the 8th. Reed has batted once, grounded out in the 6th, and he lifts one to left field. Coghlan battling it, 1 out. Mets have been hitting a lot of balls Coghlan's way the last couple of innings. That one he's able to handle. So 1 out now. Castillo, who blooped a double to left his last time up. He's been aboard 2 more times today.
You know, Gary, really has been the theme of the homestand, isn't it? With the Mets, not inability, but do not have all the home run hitters they've had before. Never wait for that. Guys are going the other way. Lots of singles, stolen bases, hitting runs, all the little things they have to do now.
Fastball up and into Castillo, 1-0. Well, the Marlins starter Chris Volstad weakened a bit in the 7th, but another strong outing for him. 7 innings, 3 runs, 6 hits, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. There's a strike to Castillo, 1-1. The Marlins will have 6, 7, and 8 in the order coming up in the 9th, but it's a very dangerous 6, 7, 8 with Uggla, Baker, and Ross. All guys who are capable of hitting home runs. And that's what K-Rod's getting ready for. Up and into Castillo, 2-1. Mets are trying to win a rubber game of a series for the first time this season. Last year, after splitting the first 2 games of a 3-game series, the Mets went 14-7 in rubber games. That was the best in the National League. This year, after splitting the first 2 games of the series, they've gone 0-4 and have lost all 4 of those games by 1 run. Here they are on the front end of a 1-run game in the 8th.
Sorry, Gary, they really want to turn that tide because that's not something you want to historically have happen all season.
I mean, it's nice to sweep series, which the Mets just did against the Nats, but ultimately, if you can win 2 of every 3, you're in pretty good shape. And Castillo takes a strike, 3-2.
Win 2 out of every 3 requires that you kind of grind out games within a series, and this is one of those.
Castillo trying to get him board in front of right to Sheffield. 3-2 from Calero, fouled away. Quite a homestand for Castillo. 8 hits in 18 at-bats and a whole flurry of walks. Again, the 3-2, and he loops one into left center field. Ross coming over to get there for the out. 2 out. So now David Wright will bat with 2 out and nobody on. David's taken an 0 for today. Double play ball, strikeout, fly ball. Now hitless in his last 12 at bats.
The big at bat on Friday night versus Kiko Calero. I believe with the bases loaded, 1 out.
Yep. Calero struck him out in the big spot. And David takes a slider off the plate, 1-0. David was asked what's with all the strikeouts, and he says he doesn't know. I mean, after all, he just came off a huge hot streak on the last road trip. But when he has not been hitting this year, he has been striking out in bunches. It's hard to complain, though, about someone who goes into this kind of a slide on the homestand and yet is hitting .330 for the year. And the other piece of that, of course, is that in a compromised lineup these days for the Mets, to be able to have David Wright to have this kind of homestand and potentially go 5-1 on that homestand, that says something for your team.
Well, you just mentioned Mr. Castillo had a big part in it. The starting pitching had a big part in it. But the biggest part was played by Sheffield and Santos.
3-0 to Wright. And David takes a strike. Hit toward the hole, base hit. And so David's aboard for the first time today as he snaps that 0 for 12 with a 2-out single.
He is so strong that even that ball up and in, he's able to hit it just hard enough out of the reach of Bonifacio. See that ball? That's in a good spot, inside corner. Up enough, though, that David's able to, with that quickness of his bat, get it through the hole.
So now Sheffield bats with 2 out and a runner at first. And Calero's going to have to keep an eye on Wright. Sheffield had an infield hit and scored a run in the 7th, 1 for 3. Wright with 11 steals on the year, tied for 3rd in the National League.
Mets wouldn't mind one more piece of magic here from Sheffield on this homestand.
Sheffield, who had 3-run homers on back-to-back days on this homestand. And a hard throw to first by Calero, and Wright gets back. And is David saying that was a balk move?
Luis Alicea is saying that Calero is balking. If you watch him real close, he'll use that front knee. They'll kind of bend it real quick. See that? That little subtle bending of that left leg to the plate is the reason that Wright was almost picked off. It's a balk move. Take it from me, I used to use it myself. So, you know, what the key for the base runner is he's watching that front knee. If that knee buckles and moves at all, you think the pitcher has to go to the plate. So that's how you entice him. You buckle it just a little bit and then proceed to first.
Sheffield takes the breaking ball off the plate. You know, if you go to the rule book and look at the balk rules, there are 13 different ways to balk.
I think I've done all 13, by the way.
So a great one from Takahashi earlier on the homestand when he dropped the ball while in his motion. It's pretty blatant right there. Pitch out, but Wright's not running, and it's 2-0 to Sheffield. It's tough to pitch out on 1-0. Now you put yourself in a big hole.
You have to be, you know, like stealing third, you have to be safe. When you pitch out at 1-0, you better be right. Because if you're not, now Sheffield has a chance to really turn it up a notch on Calero's fastball, although he seems to want to throw his slider whenever he's behind in the count. David's eyes peeking into the signs. If you can get him from Baker. He's got it now. He's finally got the move now down. That's why he's in real safe.
And he's only got that one move.
Yeah.
Two 2-0 to Sheffield. And Gary takes the slider for a strike. 2-1.
Again, Ramirez way in that hole. seen Sheffield, when he hits it on the ground, pulls it. David's still trying to get that bag.
He's running. Breaking ball strike. Baker's throw way too late. And David Wright has his 12th stolen base of the year.
You know, the Mets, who have stolen many bases in the past 3-4 years, with Reyes leading the bunch, have not always stolen bases when they need to steal bases, and they really have on this homestand. Sheffield, of course, the most important, but here, Wright giving Sheffield a chance that he doesn't have to hit it out of the ballpark. A single will give them a key insurance run.
That's 51st steal of the year, the most in the National League. 2-2 the count to Sheffield. And Gary swings and misses at the slider. Baker makes the toss down to first, and that does it for the Mets in the 8th inning. Now it's up to K-Rod. Francisco Rodriguez on to pitch the 9th inning, trying to protect a 1-run lead. Building a new car company? Come and see what we're building for you. By Time Warner Cable, with the most free HD channels in New York City. By Tri-State Ford. Check out the best-selling vehicles in America only at your Tri-State Ford dealers. By American Airlines. We know why you fly. We're American Airlines. And by Acura. Acura Advance. And this game advances to the 9th inning, where Francisco Rodriguez lives.
Been perfect so far this year, 13 for 13. First Met to start his career with 13 saves.
Dan Uggla leads off the 9th inning in a 1-run game. Dangerous hitter takes a strike. Uggla barely missed a home run back in the 2nd inning, hitting one high off the wall in left field for a double. Since then, he's popped up and flied out. Uggla with 9 home runs on the year and 99 in his career. And K-Rod misses high, 1-1. It'll be Uggla, then John Baker and Cody Ross in the 9th inning, with the Mets protecting a 1-run lead. And Uggla swings and misses at the changeup. 1-2.
Fastball, first pitch for a strike, and now 2 changeups, one up and one perfectly spotted down.
Baker to follow. One, two. He struck him out. K-Rod gets Uggla to start the 9th.
Well, good fastball hitter is Uggla. How do you counter if you're K-Rod? Use that great changeup. What a spot on the corner and down.
Next Saturday on the Picks Game of the Week, the Mets head to D.C. to dish out some capital punishment on the Nationals pitching staff. Picks brings you up close for every at-bat all game long. The Mets battle the Nationals next Saturday night at 7, right here on Picks. 1 out in the 9th. Now John Baker is 0 for 2 and a walk. And K-Rod starts him off with a breaking ball for a strike. Baker has 6 home runs this year, 5 of them in the month of May.
That was the kiddingly we used to always accuse Keith of peeking there. He would always take that little. Well, I got the mosquito in my eye.
Those Northern California guys.
There you go.
Baker out of Cal Berkeley. There's a strike with the fastball, and Frankie's ahead 0-2. Cody Ross, another dangerous hitter on deck.
He throws the whole kitchen sink at him, right? First pitch breaking ball, second pitch fastball. We throw 0-2 change. How many closers can do that?
Just missed with the fastball, 1-2. Don't forget on SNY right after our game here, flip it over for Lincoln Mercury post-game live. All the highlights and interviews, Jerry Manuel's post-game reactions. Lincoln Mercury post-game live coming up on SNY right after the game today. 1-2 to Baker. In there for a call, strike 3. Back-to-back strikeouts for K-Rod to start the night.
You know, when K-Rod pitches, it's almost like watching a great chess master. He always knows how to counter the moves. Looks like Baker's sitting on something slow, breaking ball or changeup, and he counters with the fastball. Nice pitching.
So now the Marlins are down to their final out, and Cody Ross coming to the plate. The Nationals have cut the Phillies' lead to 3-2 on Josh Willingham's second home run of the game. That started the day a half game behind the Phillies. Now Ross is 0 for 3. And the curveball outside, ball 1. Ross with 7 home runs this year. Hit the ball hard his last time up, lining out to Sheffield in left, leading off in the 8th. The Marlins 2 runs, 6 hits. The Mets 3 runs and 7 hits. One 0 to Ross. Curveball in for a strike. 1-1.
Boy, he throws this one that starts right at you, and if you're a right-handed hitter, it's almost impossible to be able to pull that trigger.
One. Low and away. 2 balls and a strike to Ross. If he keeps it going, Ronnie Polino has come out on deck to be a pinch hitter. Curveball pulled foul. And now it's 2-2.
And that might be the only time one of the Marlins hitters has guessed right. Ross sitting on that slider, but in a good spot.
So now the Marlins are down to their final strike.
Got Ugla on that good changeup down and away. Let's see where Omir Santos wants to go. Yes, same pitch to Ugla.
Low, and now a full count to Ross. Polino would be next.
Three-two, fastball away. Going to challenge him.
off the corner, ball 4. And now the Marlins have the tying run aboard with Ronnie Paulino coming up to pinch hit. So Ross works out a 2-out walk.
It's amazing what the hitter can do to change your whole game plan. He threw that slider that Ross pulled hard foul, gets a 3-2, decides not to go with that pitch, thinking Ross is on it, goes with the fastball, but misses.
So now the Mets have to play no doubles in the outfield to try and keep that tying run from scoring. Paulino had a double to right center in the game last night. Also hit one to the right field fence that was caught. Went 1 for 4 when he started behind the plate. The former Pittsburgh Pirate now facing K-Rod with 2 out in the ninth. And a fastball in at the knees for a strike, 0-1. Now the 0-1. Late swing foul. And now K-Rod again has the Marlins down to their final strike.
See, Santos went through all the signs, mostly breaking pitches, and Rodriguez wanted that fastball away. Why? Very intelligently, Paulino's coming off the bench. He's not fresh. Great guy to go right after.
Now Rodriguez working with a 2-strike advantage.
Likes his fastball against Paulino.
He struck it out, and the ball game is over. Frankie Rodriguez strikes out 3 in the ninth. His 14th save. The Mets take 2 out of 3 from the Marlins and finish off a 5.